Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everyone to another episode of the Hurt on the One Talk Show. This is a one-on-one conversation with interesting and compelling people who have been through hardship and triumph in their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest tonight. Her name is Iris Mendoza. How you doing, Iris?
I am doing great. Thank you.
That is great. That is great. Iris, let me explain to you how this goes. We go into 5 quarters.
Okay.
The first 4 quarters is your life.
Okay.
The 5th quarter is what you see from the present on to the future.
Okay.
Okay, let's get right at it. First and foremost, Iris, before we go into the quarters, just tell us a brief about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Iris Mendoza, as he said, and I was born and raised in Philadelphia all my life. And I am actually an art therapist, and I also minister to prisons as well as nursing homes. I do have a group of pastors. We do get together and we go out there and we spread the word and the joy of God's glory. Yes.
Oh, well, that's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Iris, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Iris, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right at it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize for the tardiness when we go to new locations. You know, we have to deal with Wi-Fi
Yes.
and getting everything set up. So, but nevertheless, we're here. God willing, we're going to get through this.
Yes.
And it's going to be a great show. Iris, let's get right to it. First quarter. The first quarter goes into your early remembering of who you are to your early adolescence. I say towards when you were maybe about 10, 11, 12. So tell us about those early days, and like I said, you gave us a brief of where you grew up, but just go into a little bit more detail about those early days, about yourself in the first quarter.
Okay, well, I just want to say one thing that what I'm about to share goes way beyond where it originated from. As a little girl growing up, I was definitely abused. As a little girl, for those that didn't hear that, as a little girl growing up, I was actually abused. I was sexually abused from a man that I thought I could trust. I thought that I could love and love me back, but it didn't turn out that way. So at the age of 9, 10, up to 13, I was actually abused in ways that you can never imagine. It was tough growing up in a dysfunctional family. Everyone in my home was just so dysfunctional. It was always arguments. There was never really love in my home, and so growing up at 10, 11, 12, my mind was already made up where, my self-esteem was shattered. My trust was shattered. I didn't trust anyone. And this is me as a little girl. And little girls, princesses, normally play with baby dolls. They have those little tea parties, right? And coloring their coloring books. It wasn't like that for me.
So Iris, let me ask you this. Sorry to hear what you're
Yes.
sharing, and I can imagine that was a trying time for you.
Yes,
it
was.
Was your mom and dad together?
My mom and dad was not together. It was actually a stepfather.
So was he there from the beginning, or he came later? And how many siblings did you have?
Well, altogether I had 8 siblings, and he came later on in life. And for a long time I thought he was like my biological father, and come to find out he wasn't.
So he came at what age?
I believe he was there maybe 9, 10. He was there that I can remember at an early age.
When you were 9 or 10 years old?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
yes.
you had 8 siblings.
Yes.
Now, did they have different fathers?
We did, actually. It's 8 of us. It's 4 from one father, and the other 4 from another man. Yes.
Now, where were you towards were you the middle child,
I
oldest,
was.
younger?
Yes, I was right in the middle.
In
Yes.
the middle. So how many sisters, how many brothers?
So I have 2 brothers, and then it's me and my 5 sisters.
That's a that's a large
Yeah.
volume of girls. So I can imagine
Yes.
you girls.
Different personalities.
Were you close?
We were close and separated at the same time. I know that sounds kind of, hard to understand, but we were very close, but we was also kind of far apart as well, so.
Now, I didn't want to take you off of what you opened up the show with.
Yes.
I just wanted to create the atmosphere towards of your siblings, who was who.
Yes.
So it was basically your mom and your stepfather came into your life.
That is correct. Yes.
Now, and then you said the abuse came when you were 9, 10?
Yes,
Or
at a
19.
very early age. Yes.
Now, who was the abuser?
My stepfather.
It was your stepfather.
He
Did
was
your
very
mother
abusive.
know of this?
I truly believe deep down she knew what was going on, but at that time, we didn't talk. We couldn't talk about the things that went on in our lives. Everything was kept a secret. We couldn't tell anyone. But my mother knew. She knew what was going on.
Were you the only one being abused?
No, I was not. I had a younger sister that was also being abused. And I took her under my wing. She was my best friend. She was my baby. I took her under my wing, and I knew at an early age I had to protect her. And that's exactly what I did.
Now, not to get graphic with it, and this is your story. You can share what you feel like you're comfortable with.
Yes.
But how did it start? Was it like, did he come in as like Mr. Friendly and then lured you? How did it start?
Well, he was not friendly at all. He was definitely an alcoholic. He was a very heavy drinker, and he was very abusive towards my mother. He was abusive towards us as well. And so how it started was that he would sneak in our rooms, and he would come in our rooms when we were sleeping, and knowing we had to get up to go to school in the mornings. But he would, if I'm in the bathroom, he would sneak in the bathroom, and this is why I had to take my sister under my wing, because when she's in the bathroom, he would try to come in there, so then I have to be with her.
Now,
Yes.
how old were your brothers at the time?
My brothers was probably maybe 14, 15, but at that time, they actually moved to New York City.
Oh, so they weren't living in the house at
No.
the time?
No.
So when the first time this happened,
Yes.
did you go tell?
No, we were taught not to talk about the things that went on in our home.
Okay. How many times did it have to happen before you said anything?
It happens so many times. You talk about, your first love. I never experienced a first love because he took that from me.
Right.
At a very young age, I was already violated of my sense of security, my sense of privacy. I was violated in all ways possible. So, and it happened over and over and over and over again. It never stopped.
Now, was there any type of physical abuse?
Oh, yes.
From a standpoint of like, did he grab you aggressively? Where like if somebody came in like the cops,
Yes.
and obviously they do a rape kit.
Yes.
But was there any other physical, like did he slap you? Did he grab you? Was there any of that going on as well?
Yes, actually it was. Beatings, oh Jesus. We got in so many beatings in our lifetime from those early ages. And I remember many, many times where, I was tied up.
He actually tied you up?
Yes, he did. He tied
And where
me
was
up.
your mother at this time?
I'm pretty sure she was in a room sleeping, or
Was she
I
naive?
thought she was sleeping.
Was she naive to
She
what
was.
was going on?
She was. But she was scared as well.
So you guys were prisoners in your own home?
Yes, absolutely. That's
Okay.
exactly what we were.
Now, let me ask you this. Was there any type of love in the home?
No, there was no love, and there was no unconditional love at all. We had to paralyze our emotions. Me personally, I was emotionally bankrupt. I couldn't feel. I just couldn't.
So when we're still in the first quarter,
Yes.
so from your, like I said, early days of as high as 11 or 12 years old,
Yes.
was it still going on after
Yes.
that? Okay, so
Yes.
let's end the first quarter and let's go into the second quarter.
Okay.
The second quarter is going to pick up where you left off around
Okay.
your 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
And then we're going to go into your mid-20s.
Okay.
Let's keep it in your early teens.
Okay.
Did it stop then?
It stopped. It had to stop because I had to make it stop. So at the age of 13, I tried to take my life. And I'll never forget that night. I was in my room and I had it. It's like I just exploded. I had it. I couldn't take it anymore. I got tired of being raped. And so I remember crying and crying and crying and where's this God? You know, why is this happening to little girls? And so I remember taking a pair of scissors, a regular pair of scissors, and I started cutting my arms, you know. I just started cutting and cutting. And then I realized right then and there, I was emotionally paralyzed. I couldn't feel. I just kept cutting and I couldn't feel.
But Iris, did the police come into this situation at all? Did anybody of authority, the school system, did they notice that there was something wrong, something different? Did you tell your teacher? When did somebody of power finally step in and was told this is going on?
No one. No one knew. No one knew the nightmare that we were going
So
through.
you're basically saying you kept it from people of authority?
Yes, I did.
Because you were scared
Yes.
because would this man threaten he would kill you or
Yes.
hurt you or hurt your family?
Yes,
Okay.
it was many threats in the household. It was always threats. You know, if you tell anyone I'm going to kill your mother, if you tell anyone I'm going to kill your sister. And you know, at the age of 9, 10, 11, 13, you know, how do you take that?
Now, at that time, how old was this man at that time?
Oh, Jesus. I'm pretty sure he was in his late 30s, maybe.
So, now, when you're a young lady and you start to get your period,
Yes.
now, obviously, that is the time of a young lady's life where you're acceptable to being pregnant.
Yes.
Did you have your period during that time?
I actually did. I remember having my menstrual. You know, I remember all those things. But
Did anybody
also-
talk to you about what happens when that happens as a young lady and what is acceptable to
No.
happen to you as a young lady?
Actually, no.
Okay.
We never had those type of guidance,
Didn't
those
have
type
that.
of talks.
So once you had your period, was the sexual violation still going on?
Well, at the age, as I mentioned earlier, at the age of 13, I tried to take my life. And that's when my mother found the courage to leave.
Leave
It
him.
took leave him.
Oh,
It
okay.
took that for my mother to say, you know what, pack up a bag of clothes, don't take too much. And I remember all of us just packing up whatever, and we just left. Like I remember she took her ring off, she put it on a dresser, and quietly we left.
So when this was happening and you were attending school,
Yes.
what type of young teenager were you? Were you quiet? Were you to yourself?
Yes.
What type of grades were you getting at that time? Because obviously you were being violated, and I can imagine that was tough for you at that time.
Well, one thing about me is at an early age, I was definitely gifted because I'm an artist, and that was my escape. I couldn't wait to go to school. I mean, even though I lost so much sleep,
That was your getaway.
right? I could not wait to just go to school. I just couldn't wait to go to school, be in school. I hated to come home, but I couldn't wait to go to school. I love school. I love art. I just could not wait to just get out that house.
Did you have a social, did you have any girlfriends or anything at that time?
No, I isolated myself, and again, my trust was shattered. So I didn't trust anyone. And if you try to get close to me, I felt like, okay, here comes a motive. So I stayed to myself. I said myself so much.
So Iris, was there any, obviously this can devastate any child at
Yes,
that age
absolutely.
where it's hard to even enjoy a sunshine or a good moment.
Oh, yes.
Was there any good moments during that time of this horrible nightmare?
No,
No.
not at all.
No, I understand. So now that we're going into your graduate,
Yes.
okay, where did you graduate from?
I actually went to Willard School, and then I received my formal education in Edison High School. And I remember the teachers. They just had an interest in me. Like, they knew I was gifted. They knew I was talented. My art was phenomenal, and I was transferred to Kensington for performing arts. So I went there, and I just blew up. I just blossomed.
That is beautiful.
But
So did you get any type of therapy? Did anybody feel like you should need counseling? Because I would think that once your mother left him,
yes,
it was still placed in a closet where we're still not going to tell nobody?
that is correct. That is definitely correct.
So you're saying that you've never told anybody of power at that time?
Not at that time. Later on in life, but not at that time. Not at that time.
So you were going your day to day like nothing happened and everything was okay?
Well, after graduation, I started, the streets called my name. The streets called my name.
Okay, so you graduated from high school.
Yes, I did.
Okay, was it plans to go to college or anything after that? Was there any type of plans?
Yes, I actually went to community college. I went there for business.
Okay.
Yes, I went there for business and computers.
So when did the streets call your name, before or after?
It was before. It was definitely before.
Okay,
It was
explain
right
that.
after. It was right after my mother left him, and we left. And I was still going to school, but I was angry. I was always angry. I was a very angry girl. I grew up with a lot of hate.
And it's understandable. 'cause
Yes,
you
and a
were
lot
being
of
abused.
anger. And I didn't trust anyone.
Sure, I understand. So explain the streets called you.
Yes, well, when I met my children's father, of course, you fall in love, and
Now slow up. You had a child.
I did have a child.
At what age was that?
I was actually 16 when I had my first child, going to 17.
Now, Iris, let me ask you this, because only you can explain this. With you being sexually violated
Yes,
by somebody who shouldn't have been doing that,
exactly.
nobody should do that.
That's right.
How did it make you look at sex at that time, where you were able to go out there and get pregnant with your boyfriend, or even want to have sex? Or did you feel like you were used to that way of life? Can you explain that a little bit?
It took a very long time. It took a very long time for me, because at one point I was not into boys. I was not into girls. I was not into boys. I just was not into anything.
So when you got with him for the first time,
Yes.
sexually,
Yes.
did you feel like you were still being violated?
I did, in a way, because it took me a long time just to even be intimate with a male. It's like, I remember flashbacks. I was still getting flashbacks, and the relationships didn't work out because I would not let it work out.
Right,
But in the process, I had a child.
So you had your child.
I
Okay.
had my beautiful baby girl.
So you had your beautiful baby girl at
Yes.
16.
Yes.
Okay. Now go from there. How was that as a single mother?
As a single mother, it felt great.
Now you were still in high school at the time.
Yes, I was still in high school.
Okay.
And and then I had my son. I had my son a year later.
Okay.
And I had two beautiful children, and again, I was still a single parent because that's how I wanted to live my life. I chose to live my life my way.
Now, Iris, we're going to get deep here because I appreciate you opening up and being very transparent.
Yes.
Do you feel still that with you being sexually violated at a young age opened the door for you to be more like being more sexually active
Yes.
at that time? Because some people say it can go either or.
Yes, that is true.
You know what I mean? I was
That is
trying to
true.
find the right word without being,
It's fine.
sensitive to it.
Yes, it's
You
fine.
know what I mean?
Yes, it's fine.
So you did notice that. So you had two
Yes.
kids before you were at the age of 18.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I want to go back to what you meant when the streets were calling you, because you had two children at this
Yes,
time.
I did. I had two children. And the streets, I was introduced to the streets. And, I didn't have love. Everything that I've always wanted in my home, everything that I needed in my home I did not have. So I found it in the streets. I found it through, drug dealers. I found it through fierce people that were fierce OGs. Those were my teachers. Those, I hung out with the most notorious people in the streets.
So you were just when you said the streets were calling you,
Yes.
you're basically just saying you were friendly to the people that were in the streets.
Yes, because I found what I needed through them.
Did you find yourself selling drugs at the time?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I actually did, and I was caught up.
Was that the only thing?
It was just, that's pretty much it.
The drug?
The drugs. But then I also became them. I became violent. I became something I wasn't. Something I didn't know who I was. I became someone that did not care about life. I just didn't care.
Right.
I didn't care what happened to me.
So you were a gangster.
I was definitely a gangster. I mean, today you see me with blonde hair, makeup. This wasn't me at one point. At one point, my hair was jet black. I wore ski mask. I guns in my hands, and that was me. I definitely became one of the most dangerous women in the streets.
What do you thought? Where was that coming from? Do you think it was coming from the pain because you didn't have
Yes.
love in the house, and you
Yes.
felt as though the negativity of the streets was more attractive to you because that's all you knew?
That is correct.
Okay.
It was more of a survival of the fittest.
So when you looked at yourself in the mirror at that time,
Yes.
what did you see? Did you see a beautiful woman? Did you
I
see
did
a
not.
woman? What did you see?
I didn't see anything. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have an image. I did not know who I was. I was just living survival of the fittest.
Now we're into your mid-20s.
Yes.
And tail end of the second quarter.
Yes.
You said that you went to school after the streets.
Yes.
What made you want to say, I need better than this, more than this?
Well, I had a third child.
And what age was that?
And I was in my late 20s when I had my third child. And one thing I didn't mention is I used to box. My children's father was a boxer, and so I used to box as well. I mean, I had the gloves, the trunks, you name it, I had it. I was really rough.
So what age did you have your third child?
I was probably maybe 28 when I had my last child.
Okay. So were there three different fathers?
No, it was just two. It was just two.
Okay.
It was just two.
So was when you were 16, that was the one, and the last two was the other, or?
My 16, yes. My daughter and my son was from the first.
Oh, okay.
And again, I chose that life. I didn't want to be with them. I had the children, and that was it.
Okay, so let's go into the third quarter. Now we're into your late 20s.
Yes.
Going into your late 30s.
Yes.
Explain those years. What was those years looking like?
My life was out of control. Let's just put it that way. My life was completely out of control. Okay, and I had my third son, and at that time, I had 2 cases. Yes, I had 2 cases, and I hung with the most.
Now, when you say you had 2 cases, not to go into detail,
Yes.
but what kind of what was bringing on these cases? What, drug dealing?
Yes, I had one where, the men that I hung with, they were big drug dealers. I mean, whatever I wanted, I had it. So they were big drug dealers, and to be honest with you, they used my property to do what they had to do to make more money.
So you were guilt by association, but you were accessory to these things as well.
Exactly. And people were watching. People knew what was going on. People were watching, and of course, the cops were notified. FBI agents came, and of course, I was still on the scene, and they grabbed me.
Right.
So,
and how old were you at that time?
I was in my late 20s when it happened too.
Okay.
And And that's pretty much it. As I said, I was a devious person. I didn't know who I was.
Now, when you were talking about going to school,
Yes.
how much schooling did you do at that time? Because obviously you were going to school and still living that life.
Yes, I was going to school, and again, I went to high school. I did the college, 2 years of college.
And you took up what?
And I took up business,
Okay.
Computers, and I love school. I've always loved school. I've loved to learn.
Now, when you had your children, were any of these men, did you ever think about marrying?
No,
No. So
absolutely not.
So they were just your baby fathers.
That's it.
So,
That's
okay.
it.
Did you do any jail time?
I did, actually.
Okay. Years, months, weeks?
I was sentenced to 2 years
Okay.
in SCI Muncie. And I did my 2 years, and prison life for me changed my life. That's when my life changed.
Now, how old were you at that time?
I was still in my 20s. I was in my late 20s when I was sentenced to prison, and then I did my 2 years.
Okay. So let's go. I think we're into the third quarter from a standpoint of your late 20s into your
Yes.
early 40s area.
Yes.
Now you have finished your jail time.
Yes.
Okay. Did you come out a different person?
Absolutely.
Explain
Yes, I
that.
did. When I did my time, I was away from everything. I was able to focus. I was able to think about everything that happened to me, everything that I've done in my life. And then I said to myself one day, this is not how I want to live my life. This is not who I want to be for the rest of my life. Something happened to me, and when I think about it, I had a spiritual awakening. And it took prison to do that for me. In prison, I lost my mother, and that was tough. But my mother came into my dream. And she said to me, I need you to confront your abuser. And that's exactly what I've done when I came out.
Mm. So you looked them up?
I did, but it wasn't just me. I contacted the police department.
Oh, good for you.
I've also contacted it was the courts got involved. I had an advocate. We found him, and we went to his home.
Oh, man.
And after all that I've been through, I wanted him to know that I forgive him.
Yeah.
So if that's not a changed person, then I don't know what is.
So I think with you feeling as though you did that,
Yes.
that was a release of this emotion and anger and frustration and
Yes.
mental block that you were dealing with that was drawing you to negativity, that you feel like
Exactly.
in order for me to go to the light, to the sun,
Yes.
I had to release that. And like you said, you forgave from even
Yes.
with everything you've done.
Absolutely.
Let's go into the fourth quarter. I don't mean to rush you and everything because
You're
of the
fine.
facility that we're in, we have to get up and go.
Yes.
Fourth quarter. Now let's get into the happy mode because
Yes.
now you have released that negative
Yes.
energy. Now let's turn that corner because I want to talk about how you got to the person you are today.
Well, I have to say it took a lot of warriors and soldiers of God. Everyone that looked up to me, the good people, they saw something in me, and I got involved in ministry. I got baptized. I went to church, got baptized again. And I thank God for saving someone like me because I know that He's using me today to reach out to those that feel as though there's no hope. So I thank God for using me because it was all Him, and I had to surrender, and I surrender my life. I say, God, please, and I'll never forget what I said to God. I said, God, please make my life so uncomfortable that I have no choice but to change. And He's done that.
Now, when you talk about how the streets were calling you,
Yes.
when you see the streets now, what does the streets say to you now?
Nothing at all. They just say hallelujah.
So you're not drawn to those streets.
No, absolutely
so
not.
obviously with you going into the
No.
church and the
Yes.
ministry,
Yes.
obviously you keep a different company in your
I
circle.
do. Actually, I do. I absolutely do.
So how did you get into the profession that you are in now?
I've always been an artist since age 9. It was my escape. And I use art I use art whenever I'm feeling happy, or even if I'm feeling sad. I know I can turn to art. It says, you know, in James 4:8, it says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. And he will. He will definitely draw near to you, but you have to keep that faith in him. And at one point, I didn't have faith, but I have faith in God, and I thank God
So
for it all.
what type of relationship are you having with your kids today, and what's going on in your world today?
Well, today, my children are all married.
Good.
They love me, and they are truly proud of me. I love it when my son says to me, Mom, you are so much a different person. And I love to hear that from my son. You know, and I love my children, and they love me too.
Isn't that beautiful?
And you know, it's been a blessing, and I thank God for giving me the opportunity to even publish my book. And here's my book.
Oh, that is.
And my life, this is my life, the transformation of the Queen Within. So you guys should go out there and invest in this book.
Now that leads us into the fifth quarter.
Yes.
Talk about today and tomorrow, and I think the book is a good segment. We have a
Yes.
minute to go, so can
Yes.
you give it to me?
Yeah, so I just want to let everyone know that your past should not paralyze you. You can let go of a past that you had no control over, like I've done. I am a true survivor, and I thank God for using me for you guys. So, and again, don't let your past take over you. You can overcome your past.
Iris, I want to greatly appreciate you
Yes.
sharing your story.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
could have
you.
talked to you for another hour
Yes.
because it seemed like you have a hell of a life, but
Yes,
it's
I do.
amazing. It's not where you came from; it's where you at today,
Absolutely.
and you have a positive, driven mindset.
Yes.
So God bless you,
Thank
and
you.
show everybody that book again.
Thank you. The Transformation of the Queen Within. It's on Amazon.
There you go.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for looking at Hurt
Yes.
on the One.
Thank you.
Until the next time, God bless.
God bless. Good night.